Guy has been so far a pretty solid one. He's Miami's third leading scorer, second leading assist man. How good has he been here in his pre-retirement campaign?
I mean, he's been great, honestly. I think D-Wade's got a lot of legs up. I know it's his last go-around, but he's playing terrific, and his team's in the playoff hunt. He's scoring for them. He's making clutch plays down the stretch in fourth quarters for them. You see he's still playing almost 26 minutes a night. He's still got his patented moves, and for them, I mean, he's going to have a chance to disrupt somebody in the first round.
Yeah, and I look at it, man, he's just been fantastic. You look at these numbers, and we're not used to these numbers for Dwayne Wade, but for a guy that has played as long as he's played and still making the impact that he's making. What I love about it is the 4.2 assists. So that means he's seeing the floor. That means he's still drawing a double. That means he's still able to beat guys off the dribble and make the next play. This is a tough team, the Miami Heat, with the Dwayne Wade, his last dance, as he calls it. If they can get into the playoffs and you have him as a finisher, and I'm not saying it's a fourth quarter finisher every night, but one game is close, 4 minutes left, you can still bet on Dwayne Wade to make the plays to win games. Might not score every trip down, but make the right plays.
Still has skills, obviously, and tons of savvy. Still got that killer pump fake, and people are still falling for it all these years later. And Miami's an interesting playoff team because of their depth. They have 10 players averaging 20 minutes a game for this season. And think about who's starting and who's coming off the bench. Wade's part of a bench unit that now includes Hassan Whiteside, who's coming off the bench, and Goran Dragic, who, remember, has only played 7 games since coming back from injury. That is not a normal 8th seed bench, which could potentially be the case for Miami against Milwaukee.
Yeah, I wouldn't pick Miami to beat, say, Milwaukee or even Toronto if they move up into the 7th spot. But they're going to be scrappy. They're going to fight. They're well coached by Spo, and obviously Pat Riley's over there. They got the great experience, but their bench with Hassan Whiteside and D-Wade and Dragic, that's a nice bench to have.
And I think also you add a Dion Waiters, a guy who can get hot, can score points, and play off of Dwayne Wade. Matt, you said it. Whiteside and Dragic and D-Wade, I can take that second unit versus most second unit in NBA and have an advantage, especially if he has his mind right.
Oh, yeah.
Whiteside and being able to block shots and putbacks and really engage, they could give problems to like the Milwaukee Bucks or the Toronto Raptors.
That's the way the teams are lined up right now. Obviously, Milwaukee or Miami could move up or potentially down over the last roughly month left in the season. Miami's changed around their starting lineup a little bit too, and they're 8-2 now with Josh Richardson, Justice Winslow, and Bam Adebayo as starters for this team. So a different looking Miami group. The offense, as I mentioned, they play slow, so you're not putting up tons of points, but in terms of efficiency, they've been great lately.
Yeah, they're young, they're athletic, they got something to prove. Obviously they play well together, they got good cohesion, and that's great for a young group, I think. So for them, they may not all have playoff experience, but they got good playoff leaders in their locker room.
Yeah, and I think for Matt, you said it best. It's a possession game with the Miami Heat. And they have the type of guys that can grind out games and also just flat out defend. And when you're talking about some versatile guys that can guard from 2, 3, 4, James Johnson is one of those guys that is tough. You have D-Wade, who's tough. Goran Dragic, who's tough. Bam Adebayo. So Justice Winslow, they have some tough-minded guys that will get after it. And also on the other end, can score some points. Just won't run up and down. But in a half-court situation, that's playoff basketball. They can grind out some games.
And the pace to me is a huge thing. They're already playing at a playoff-style pace. They won't have to make that adjustment at all. They're already there as they fight to get into the postseason. All right, it's coming up in about an hour. Lots more to get to in the next 60 minutes or so. Before tip-off, Giannis Antetokounmpo has not had great success against the Heat. How Miami goes about guarding the Greek Freak when we come back. It's a Friday night doubleheader here on the network. Game 2 later on. The Bulls in L.A. to take on the Clippers first. A potential playoff matchup between the Milwaukee Bucks with the best record in the NBA and the Heat, who are currently holding down the 8th spot in the Eastern Conference. Welcome in, everybody, to our NBA TV World Headquarters in Atlanta. It's the Auto Trader pregame show for a Friday night. Carlos Boozer, Steve Smith. I'm Matt Weiner. You'll see the top team in the league in just a little bit as the Bucks hit Miami. It is their 18th road game and their last 26 on the schedule. They're not sure where they're waking up these days, the Bucks. 5 of their next 6 after tonight are back in Milwaukee, which could give them a chance to expand their lead on Toronto for the best record in the league. And if he wasn't already, the leader in the clubhouse for the award, the top seed would be a pretty compelling argument for Mike Budenholzer's second Coach of the Year trophy.
You know, it's just flared up the last couple days, and so he's not able to go tonight. We'll see how he kind of does the next couple days and just evaluate it as we go forward.
How worrying is this flare-up after he sat out for so long and having to come back in this quickly?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely enough concern where he's not playing, and we'll see how he's feeling the next couple days, and you know, just take it from there. It's part of sport. It's part of, you know, his journey. So you know, I think most important thing is just get him healthy and you know, look forward.
Your thoughts on getting George Hill back tonight?
Yeah, no, it's great to have George. You know, he's been so good since he joined us, and you know, gives us a, you know, kind of a third point guard to go with Eric and Malcolm, and you know, defensively what he does and just experience. So really glad to have him back.
He seemed to solidify your defense on that second unit. Was that the case?
Yeah, you know, he's just you know, we talk about IQ a lot. Usually people talk about offense. I think George's defensive IQ is just really high. You know, he's been in a lot of great programs. You know, reads and sees things, you know, a little quicker. He's really committed on that end, can guard different types of players. So I think he brings leadership to that second group defensively. So a lot of positives for him when he's out there, really on both ends, but especially defensively.
Knowing Dante, I imagine he's somewhat frustrated with the situation. What's the key to just keeping somebody mentally invested when they're a young player like that?
Yeah, you know, I think just trying to be as positive as you can, and you know, just again looking forward, trying to figure out how to, you know, get healthy, stay healthy, and just, you know, stay as positive. You know, during some times it can be frustrating.
We know coaches are trying to improve their team every game. What is your players' focus now as you're nearing the playoffs but not there yet?
Yeah, you know, I think you know, defensively, if and when we make any kind of changes or adjustments, you know, can we be, you know, sharper, less kind of slippage, less errors, whether we're in our basic stuff or we make a change. And offensively, just our execution, I think, can, you know, get better. The way we move the ball and maybe move the defense side to side and then attack. And I think that just a lot of that comes down to just your focus and your habits, and can we keep building our habits and, you know, maintain or improve our focus. That's going to be important, you know, as you go into the playoffs.
Mike Budenholzer there, already won a Coach of the Year trophy with the Atlanta Hawks a few seasons back. Now coaches the best team in the NBA at the moment, at least in the regular season. But you guys have seen over the years there's some teams that are better built for the regular season than the postseason. We'll find out soon enough if this Bucks team is good enough to make a deep run even to the finals. Are they the team to beat when it comes to the playoffs?
I don't know. For me, the answer is yet to be told. I think the East is wide open now without LeBron James in it. There's 4 very good teams, I think, obviously, with Milwaukee, Toronto, Philadelphia, and Boston. Indiana's doing very well. I just don't think they're going to come out the East without Victor Oladipo. But Milwaukee's done a great job. I said in the back, I love their defense. They got a lot of guys that do a great job of defending. They can switch multiple positions. And they got Giannis, the Greek freak, who takes care of everything else. I just feel like there's a couple other teams that may have more scoring or may have more playoff experience. So I'm not sure who's going to come out the East, but I feel like it's wide open.
Well, Smitty, according to Vegas, the Bucks are now the favorite to come out of the East. Milwaukee's become more and more of a favorite as the season gone on, as they've continued to pile up wins, while the Celtics have gone the other direction. You're not Vegas, you're Steve Smith, but I'll ask you to handicap it.
You know, the one reason is, and I love Giannis Antetokounmpo. I think for sure he could win the MVP, rightfully so, in the regular season. But what can you take away from Giannis in the playoffs? And if you want to load up, and there's nothing wrong with that, that's most great players.
Sure.
But most great players make you pay by kicking it out to guys that knock down shots or make plays. And they have Chris Middleton, they have Brogdon, and they have some guys that can shoot. Brook Lopez and Mirotic are 2 fantastic bigs that can shoot. But then you also, can they play on the other end? They become liabilities to me, Mirotic and also Brook Lopez on the other end. And also for me is, other than Giannis, they don't have a lot of guys that get to the free throw line and been able to create their own. And that's where I think the most important player, I wouldn't say he's the second best player on their team, is Eric Bledsoe. I think Chris Middleton is their second best player, but I think their most important has to be Bledsoe. Another guy that can break down the defense.
Penetrate, yeah.
Penetrate, push the basketball, and get himself an easy bucket versus most of those guys got to wait for the kick out from other guys.
We'll see him against the Heat tonight. They're 1-1 against each other. Giannis Antetokounmpo, if you were with us in our last half hour, has not had good success against the Miami Heat. Could they cause them a problem if this is a 1-8 matchup?
Yeah, they're tough, and Spo has a great game plan down there. You know, they swarm him every time he gets in the paint, every time Giannis grabs the ball. You got 5 Miami Heat defenders paying attention to him, watching him, and like I said, almost daring their shooters to get the ball and take shots. So I think Milwaukee would still beat Miami in the series, but I think Miami would be a scrappy, it'd be a dogfight.
Yeah, and I think, Matt, we talked about it earlier, Giannis is in full speed. I think you have enough guards from the Miami Heat. And I'm talking about guards because usually guards get out of the way. They find a way to stay hugged up with their man when Giannis is coming. That Dwayne Wade was willing to take that hit. I think Dragic is willing to take that hit. I think Richardson, Deion Waiters, all those guys are willing to take that hit. And then you got some small force in Justice Winslow and James Johnson, 2 tough guys that can come out and defend. Then you have bigs that's athletic as well that can meet him at the top. And Bam Adebayo and Whiteside, they have enough guys to just disturb him. I'm with Booz. I think Milwaukee will still win that series, but that will be a dogfight for them.
I'm hearing skepticism, not on the series against Miami if it happens, but coming out of the East when it comes to the Bucks. So if not Milwaukee, then who is it?
For me, I still have the Boston Celtics, and I know people say it's
I do too.
They have a whole bunch of things going wrong. Yes, but once this team gets into the postseason, I still think they have the most talent, and they have the most closers, and they have the most two-way players, and they have shooting, and they also have a good coach. So I'm still going with the Boston Celtics.
I like Boston a lot, too. Honestly, I'd like Toronto this year. I don't know why, but to me, this is the year that they break through. There's no LeBron. There's some very good teams. I think Kawhi's on a mission as well. And I'm going with the North. We the North.
I like it. It's not a bad pick.
Mine is Boston, Toronto, Milwaukee.
Yeah.
So that's the ranking I have.
Yeah, I've got Boston as well. It was hard not to waver a little bit when they were in that funky stretch, but I still think they have the best total package in terms of depth, in terms of flexibility to play different ways, big or
players.
Small two-way players. They're switchable, all that good stuff you like about NBA playoff teams, and they've got the best closer in the Eastern Conference offensively in Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
Kawhi may be on a mission. I just don't know what mission that is, where it's going to take him this year. More coming up here on the Auto Trader pregame is 10 before tip, weeknights at 6:30 Eastern time right here on NBA TV. Get you set for the night. And as always on Friday, Sekou Smith stopped by.
It is the Sekou Smith MVP ladder. Here is a look at last week, which you can check out at NBA.com. Last week, Sekou had a little trouble. Did he want the chicken? Did he want the steak? Maybe he wanted some fish. Couldn't make up his mind, so he left a tie up at the top spot with Paul George, Steph Curry, and Nikola Jokic rounding out the top 5. Here we switch it up, and we finally got a decision. Is it chicken or is it steak? I don't know.
Platter.
It's a Greek freak. It's a Greek platter with Giannis Antetokounmpo taking over the #1 spot on MVP ladder, which you again can check out on NBA.com. So, Sekou, congratulations. A little more decisive this week.
Some of us are firm in our convictions, whether it's 2 guys tied at 1 or 1-2.
I don't think you understand how this works.
Look, we said it was going to be a razor-thin race coming out of the All-Star break, basically with these 2 guys at the top. Nobody has done enough to shake loose these 2 guys at the top. Paul George had an opportunity, missed 3 games with the sore shoulder, stumbled a little bit here recently, the Thunder, losing some games. He's trying to get back into the rhythm he was in going into the break, which was unbelievable. Jared, we've got only a limited amount of time left in the regular season calendar where you can make some moves on the MVP ladder. Unless somebody goes out and scores 100 points a couple times here in the next few weeks.
A couple of times.
You'd have to do it twice. This is our mix, and it's going to be up to these 2 guys at the top to really elbow each other out of the way to win this award.
So Paul George, any chance? Distant third?
Got to go nuclear. Got to go nuclear for the next 3 weeks. I mean, and seriously, how else do you change the narrative, the season-long narrative where these guys have performed at this level? Every time you want to knock Giannis down, he goes back out and does Giannis things, 29, 13.
Right.
6, the consistency for Giannis has been his calling card. For James Harden, his has now become a consistent night after night effort, but he had that slip earlier that cost him a little bit of foot.
I'm just wondering if you made the MVP ladder before Nikola Jokic hit his 4th game winner of the season last night.
I contemplated a shift for him.
Right.
But see, I'm not a prisoner of last night's moment. I think back to
4-game winners.
I figured what'd you do earlier this week? And he looked like a pedestrian when Boogie Cousins was wearing him out when the Warriors thumped on the Nuggets. So you got to balance that out.
You know, maybe the most remarkable thing about that top 5 on the MVP ladder is the absence of LeBron James, who has been top 5 in the voting for like 11 straight years or some ridiculous number like that. As it stands right now, Giannis seems to have the edge at this point. It's hard to read all the voters out there, but what do you think it would take for James Harden to overtake him in your mind?
I have it opposite. I got James Harden leading. I feel like what he did this year, we talked about a little bit off camera. You know, Clint Capella goes out, their anchor in the middle. CP3 goes down for a while, and they go from 10, 11, 12 in the playoff hunt. Now they're all the way up to third. And it seemed like for a while I'm watching, wake up in the morning and watch TV with my kids. He's the start of every show for the last month, 2 months, 3, whatever it was, doing things that we've only seen Wilt Chamberlain do. So for me, I think he has a slight edge because his team's in third spot in the West, which is a tougher conference. He held that team afloat. He's doing 37 points a game, which is ridiculous to me. And he's my MVP right now.
You know, and I'm with you guys. I think it should be closer than what it is. If you do have Giannis, it shouldn't be by that much. Only if that's your criteria, your team is in first place. But I look at it like we were talking about on camera. To be able to carry this team, which I was saying, wow, the Houston Rockets is about to have an atrocious year.
Right.
To now, they're the team that can beat the Golden State Warriors.
Pushing the Nuggets for 2 right now.
So, and I also give James a lot of credit. If you look at other stats, his assists and his steals, and people say he doesn't play defense, and yeah, but he gets steals. And the way he carried the load as an individual. And it was a huge load because that was a lot of pressure. They had a chance to falter in that stretch. Well, they could be around 7th or 8th right now, but we're talking about a team right now that, you know, couple games could be in second. But I do give Giannis a lot of credit. I have Giannis just slightly, but I think it's more even than most people think.
It's I think it's a tougher call than most people think, for sure. I mean, Giannis is obviously the driving force behind what the Bucks have done. I think Mike Budenholzer has a ton to do with their success this year, with basically the same roster, the emphasis on the 3 and spreading the floor for Giannis, but he's done the work, obviously. What Harden did, the numbers are absurd, but if you take the numbers out of it and just watch the games, you realize the degree to which he carried that team during that stretch without Capella, without Chris Paul. And if you pour through some of the advanced metrics, it's almost a toss-up, at least with these numbers. Both are among the top 3 in the league in win shares, value over replacement player, and player efficiency rating.
And I think also the narrative has been just James Harden just scores.
Right.
But he's not just scoring, and it's not, I mean, what he's doing has been historic. No one else has been able to do this, asterisk Wilt. I mean, when we start talking about Wilt, we're talking about a guy that's carried the load for so long with minutes, and teams doubling, tripling, and then being able to get to the free throw line, it's just been remarkable. I think right now we're getting spoiled because we're even looking at Russell Westbrook and saying, oh, he's averaging a triple-double.
Yeah.
This is something that you just don't do, because if it was that easy, everybody would be doing it.
Right. And the other thing that's impressive, he didn't make no complaints about it.
Nope.
It wasn't like he was crying, oh, I don't have my point guard, I'm going to pack it in. No, he stepped up his game even more. I'm going to take on the load. I'm going to do my job even better. And at the same time, he's kind of like a quarterback, because when he gets in the paint, he sucks all the defense in. He's still averaging, 7, 8, 9 assists a game, finding his shooter. So it's just very impressive to me.
Also averaging the highest scoring average per 100 possessions in recorded NBA history. We can't get Wilt's number.
No, you can't.
He has his own
recorded
category.
NBA history.
Yeah.
Own category.